Hello students. Well, we're back for another video. So today we're going to be making a parabola, and some of our materials will seem familiar. I've added a couple things, but our technique is going to be slightly different than what we've worked with for the ellipse and the hyperbola. Let's see how it goes. So to start this time, I am using both stakes, but I really only have one focus this time, and so I have attached the string to this stake to be the focus, and I've wrapped all the slack around the other stake, and you'll see why this makes sense as we go on. Again, I've got some pine cones to make marks as I find points on my parabola. I have a stone to mark the vertex. I've got a ribbon I'm going to be using to mark halfway points on my string. I have a couple of triangles, and you'll see where those are going to come in handy as well. And a measuring tape just to be able to take down some extra information. Alright, I've decided today that I'm going to make my focus 4 feet from my directrix. And the reason that I'm using this platform today is because it is forming a nice straight line. So this platform is actually my directrix. I'll measure from this. Only thing that's a little tricky here is that I've got some slope to the ground. So I'm going to try to ignore the slope and lay my focus at 4 feet. Now, I already know that to stretch from the focus to my directrix in the straightest line possible, or the shortest distance, is 4 feet. But I need to locate my vertex, and if you remember, the goal is going to be to locate points that are the same distance to the focus as they are to the directrix. Well, in this case, that's going to be kind of easy. I've got this distance right here. It's 4 feet. And I'm just going to try to cut it in half. So I'm going to fold my string up to here, and I can find my halfway point. And I already know which direction it needs to be. It's not out here or out here. It has to be in the direction of this shortest distance. So here's my first point. My vertex. I'm going to go ahead and mark that with my stone. I have another point that's going to be fairly easy to find. So there's a place where I'm going to be 4 feet away from the directrix, and I will also be 4 feet away from my focus. And that place is going to be at exactly a right angle to the path I just followed. So again, this one's a fairly easy one to find. I know that I'm 4 feet away from my focus, and without even having to measure, I know that I'm 4 feet away from the directrix because I'm using my string. Now I can check that this is the right place by using my triangle here and trying to line that up to see that this is exactly a right angle. Now I'm going to be able to also locate the same point on the other side. You can see I'm just starting with eyeballing this, making sure that I'm at basically a right angle. So these are the first 3 points. My vertex. And then these 2 points that line up with the focus. They're parallel to the directrix, and they're in line with the focus. But I need to find some more points. And these are not going to be quite as easy, although I will still be able to use the same principle. I'm going to work with my string, and I'm going to try to find a midpoint on my string and use that to locate my new points. So now things get a little bit interesting. So I'm going to be trying to use my string to keep measuring distances that are the same distance from the focus as they are to the directrix. But the directrix is a line. So measuring the distance to the directrix is why things get so tricky. It has to be always a measurement that's in movement, and I'm always looking for a path. The shortest path is going to be at a right angle to this line. So I'm always looking for lines that are going out this way, and I need to measure them to be the same distance out to my point as they are to the focus. It's a dynamic kind of measurement. So the way we're going to accomplish this is by, first of all, marking a place on our string. And I'm going to be able to move this mark. I've tied a ribbon here, and the knot is going to be my mark. But I can slide this knot. And so I'm going to go ahead and make sure, here's the point that I had found earlier. I'm going to make sure that I choose a point that's further away. So this seems like a good place here. Now I'm going to work my way back. So I keep my tension, and I'll work my way back to my focus. So I have my ribbon now. Not only is it going to be marking my new point, but my ribbon marks the halfway point along my whole string. So I'm going to hold this part of the string with my hand carefully to keep the mark on it. And I'm going to just kind of guess. I'm going to say, let's say my point is about here. Well, I'm going to go from there and measure back to my directrix. So I've gone a little bit past the directrix. And this is not quite a right angle, but it's close. So I know that I need to push my point out a little further. So I'm going to move it back this way. You can see because it's attached to the focus, it curves. And I'll check. Right here is not a bad place. So I'm going to use my right angle to make sure I'm going in the right direction. That looks good. We'll go ahead and mark, leave that mark there. I'll check this again. And this looks pretty good. So this is the halfway point on my string. It reaches at a right angle to the directrix, and it reaches straight to the focus. That means it's a new point. I'm ready to mark it. Now, I also will have the symmetrical point on the other side. So while I've got this marked out, I'm going to go ahead and move. And this is nice. I can kind of eyeball where I need to be. Now I want to double check that my string is stayed. Yeah. My ribbon's still marking the halfway point of my string. That moves to my directrix there. And this looks pretty good. So I'll mark my next point. Okay. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to move my ribbon now further out. I'm looking for some point out here. And I'm going to start stretching. So again, I'm holding this tight so that I can make sure my ribbon's not only marking a point, but is marking the halfway point on my string. So I start working my way backwards. I found this place here. And I'm going to guess that maybe this is a good place for my point. Okay, So again, I've gone past my directrix. That means that I need to be going out further away, which also means I have to get further from the focus. So that's going to be moving me more in this direction. So now I'm going to try this. Now this is where, if you had two people, you can really do this much better, because the other person can hold this part of the string tight, and you can just move together until you get into a right angle. As soon as you've got a right angle, you've got it. But doing this alone, I have to try to keep my tension and be very careful not to move my ribbon. But right here, I found my point. That looks good. So I can mark it. And I'm ready to go to the other side. I'm just going to keep everything the same, but rotate over. Make my way down. That seems about right. So there we go. So far, I've got 7 points along my parabola. The vertex, the 2 points that line up with the focus that are parallel to the directrix, and I've got 2 more points going out further. So I'm going to keep working and we'll see what I get. Alright, I've made a lot of progress. So, same process, I just kept working my way around, finding new points, and I got far enough to be able to start laying down some sticks and mark out the path that my parabola follows. Now, right away you'll notice that there's some similarity here between the parabola and part of an ellipse. You can kind of see that this could be the back side of an ellipse, and if it went on and curved in, it would close. It also has some similarity to our hyperbola. We see just an open curve. So it has both properties, but if you watch closely and you imagine yourself continuing this process further and further out, as you get further away, you almost start to make parallel lines. And so even though we're curving out like we did with the hyperbola, there's a point where we don't seem to get much further out. And even though I've only gone a little ways, I can already get a sense that that would happen. At some point, this line and this line on the other side are going to almost close in toward each other without ever getting any closer. It's like they become parallel. And that's the special characteristic of a parabola. It's right in between open and closed, and it holds that tension for its whole duration, all the way to infinity. And I just want to emphasize one more time the method that we were using. So again, here's my ribbon marking my last point, and it's also marking the halfway point of my string, and in that way I know that the distance from my point to the focus is exactly the same as the distance from my point to the directrix. And because I'm measuring to a line, I have to measure to the directrix where I meet in a right angle.